Very great to be with you. I'd be happy to add my 2 cents.
Well, I'm sure you got a lot of them. I want your 2 cents first on this payroll tax cut. Is that a good plan, cutting the payroll tax?
Absolutely not. It makes no sense for spurring the economy. We don't have a problem with businesses not having enough cash to invest. What we have is a problem with businesses not having enough certainty to know that if they do invest, buy plant and equipment, put additional people to work, that they're going to have a tax code, a regulatory environment that is sustainable for that kind of decision. And so what we need is certainty, not a short-term gimmick that puts several dollars in the pockets of either businessmen or women or their employees. We've been down this path. We've tried it with the $600 stimulus, and we tried it recently. Incidentally, I voted recently, in which we provided a payroll. I voted against both of those to begin with.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good to know. I wanted to get you to respond, more of your 2 cents, I'd say, on what President Obama had to say this time last year about what he was calling the summer of recovery. Here's the president.
Today, I return to Columbus to mark a milestone on the road to recovery, the 10,000th project launch under the Recovery Act. That's worth a big round of applause.
Senator, is it a summer of recovery? Was it a summer of recovery then? Is it now?
Well, it wasn't then, it isn't now, and I'm disappointed by that. I take no joy in the president being wrong. I would love for us to have a summer of recovery a year ago, this summer, but the policies that are put in place do not lend themselves at all. In fact, I think our government policies are hindering our recovery, and until businessmen and women know that there is an understanding of what the economy is going to look like, that they have an appreciation that the Congress and the President actually get it when it comes to federal spending and the deficit, and that we put in place policies that grow the economy, which again would be regulatory reform, a tax code that's fair and certain long-term, an energy policy that tells us that we're going to have some control over the cost of our energy and that we're going to be able to create those jobs in the United States. Until we do those things, a banking environment in which bankers feel comfortable making loans, providing access to credit to businessmen and women, until we do those things, a short-term gimmick and the road to recovery is a long way away.
Well, we've got a long way to go, and on a lot of fronts. And I'm sure you've seen that video today of Greece and the riots there. Really scary stuff. You know, people really upset about the diminution of entitlement benefits there, the economy, horrible. Is that where we're headed, Senator?
Well, I don't think so. I do think that Greece is, again, a wake-up call. What is happening in Greece is very much what can, in the sense of financial challenges and problems, a debt problem, a concern about the ability to service the country, the sovereign debt. That's a role model that we do not want to follow, and it's the wake-up call for us to change our policies in the United States, both on deficit reduction and on growing the economy. And incidentally, growing the economy is very much related to deficit reduction, so we can get a 2-for-1, people employed, money coming into the Treasury that pay down the debt. So that's the message from Greece. I think Americans, in large part, are pretty understanding, in fact, maybe further along than the politicians in Washington, D.C., that we just can't continue down the same path. And I certainly know Kansans. I know them well, and one of the pleasing things to me about Kansans is they're a lot less concerned about today. What they want to make certain is that their kids and grandkids have the opportunity to pursue the American dream and live in a country that we know what it should be like, and they want to see that for their kids.
Well, you know, Senator, it's called planning. It's something that Congress doesn't seem to be able to do. Congress seems to have, you know, their future means the next 60 seconds, the next soundbite. When are you guys going to get it together and get involved in entitlement reform that's serious, that's meaningful, and will make these programs last into the next few decades?
Well, Jerry, I've said something similar to what you just said, although you were perhaps more critical. You said 60 seconds. I always think long-term in Washington, D.C. Is the next election. If the next election is 2 months away, long-term planning is 2 months. If it's 2 years away, it's 2 years. But we need to be thinking about the next generation. That's what Americans think about, and that's what our elected officials need to be thinking about. I would say that the opportunity we have, you say, when are we going to get our act together? And I think we're going to have to force elected officials, politicians, to make the right decisions. And in my view, this issue of raising the debt ceiling is the moment that we have to do that. It's the leverage that allows those of us who believe that we need substantial reductions in spending today, next year, or the following year, that we need to put in place a cap on spending, a constitutional amendment that requires a balanced budget so we don't get back in the mess that we're in today. I think this issue of raising the debt ceiling is the opportunity that those of us who take those positions have the leverage to try to bring this a consensus to get these things done. And I recognize I don't get everything I want. I'm willing to work with other members of Congress who have different points of view, but I certainly believe that the basics are there for us to insist upon the things I just outlined before there's any vote in favor of raising the debt ceiling.
I just don't see any energy behind that right now. You know, there's a lot of talking going on, mostly on TV and in front of cameras and in press releases, but I don't really see the traction. When are we going to see that?
Well, you know, the administration says the deadline for raising the debt ceiling, they've extended that. Now, I guess we think it's early August. We have these conversations that are ongoing between congressional leaders and the vice president. It doesn't seem to me, at least, I agree with you, it doesn't seem to me that there's any concrete things that are happening. I don't know what has gone on behind those closed doors, but I do know that at some point in time, the administration who will insist that the debt ceiling be raised is going to be needing votes in Congress, and that's the opportunity for us to make certain that the things we believe in occur. It's got to happen. The reality is, go back to Greece, in the absence of us taking this seriously, writing the course, we follow the path of Greece and Ireland and Portugal. At some point in time,
it's not a pretty picture going down the road. Senator, we got to go. We appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on tonight. Interesting to talk to you. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I'm an optimist. The American people get it.
I think so, too. All right. Two big Republican victories to report tonight, and they both deal with getting spending under control.